I'm Greg Moffett. I'm a criminal profiler, an author, college professor, and a psychologist. But when it's hunting season, I'm in the woods as much as I can be. Welcome to Southern Hunter. Welcome back to Southern Hunter. We left off last time with the offer I'd made to the seller. We then discovered the land disparity, and as they tried to work that out, it was almost a month before I heard anything. But in the meantime, I continued to look at other properties. I think that was good for me because it kept me from just dreaming about this one specific tract to the exclusion of others. But it also helped me compare and contrast the various properties. In the process, I discovered that I'm really happy with this property and with my offer. But I also realized that I could be just as happy with another property. It became clear to me that 50 to 100 acres is about all I can afford, but 100 acres is a lot of land. The 106 acres, not counting the half additional acre, is on a federal conservation use agreement until 2021, so I can't build on it until after that time. These agreements are good for 10 years. I'll probably renew the agreement for another 10 years since I have no plans to build anything there anyway, and that will save me a lot of money. But I'll have to check into all the regulations to make sure that creating a sleeping space in the existing structure won't violate my agreement. A conservation use agreement significantly lowers taxes, up to about 50%, but there's restrictions on construction. So I want to make sure that I don't violate the agreement, because if I do, even if I do it unintentionally, I'm then liable for all of the tax savings for the entire 10 years of the agreement, even though I would have only owned it for 3 years. In this episode, we'll work toward closing the deal. Offers and counteroffers, contract wording, appraisals, securing a real estate lawyer, and deciding what to do about a tractor are just some of the issues on the table for us to sort out. So let's get started. So I'm out in the woods on my property. This is where I live, and the stand you see behind me is one of the first stands that I ever put on this property. I shot my first deer on this property from that stand years ago when I've had many fun hours, but it's getting dangerous, so it's got to come down. In the meantime, I got a text from my broker, and the sellers have counter-offered, and actually counter-offered less than I thought they would. So it's still a little bit out of my range, just a couple of $1,000s, which is almost nothing, but I want to be very careful. But the broker sent me a message, so let's listen, see what it has to say.
You can talk, so apparently not. But I'll be available most of the rest of the evening. Just give me a call or text me back your thoughts either way. $7 came off price a little bit. I know we probably were looking for a little more, ideally, but gosh, I think that's an incredible value for that track. So call me back when you can.
Okay, that's the gist of it. So they've come off a little bit. I need to talk to my wife. I need to talk to my broker. One thing I need to tell you is I really trust my broker. So when he says, I think it's a credible offer, that sounds like a salesman. But I've watched him as we've been working together over these last couple of months. He's not only been ethical with me, but I've seen him be ethical with other people, and I do trust him. Plus, everything he said matches what I've found myself. So it's exciting time. Looks like we may be moving toward closure. So let's see. My agent sent me an updated map, including this area you see here in orange right there. My property that I'm bidding on is this one right here. And that little road goes through here, and that cabin is right in that corner someplace. The railroad tracks you see right here. So this is the golf course that is abandoned that's next door. So this little piece right here is the half an acre that's been added to my property. So I'm going to go out and take a look at it and make sure that is what it is, see what's in here where I could put my camper or other things I might do to it. So that's a good long piece right there that's going to give me a little more buffer. These properties up here are all owned by hunting tracts. So that's going to be interesting to take a look at. We already got a chance to look inside the cabin, but since I didn't know it was part of the property, I really didn't look around outside very much. But after taking a second look, here's some of what I found. There's a bored well just outside that cabin. The well is maybe 30 feet deep, and I can see that there's water in it. At some point I'll have to pump some water up and get it checked to see what the quality is. And it's possible, being such an old property, it might not be worth much more than maybe shower water or something like that. But it's exciting having the possibility of water. Secondly, there's also power running to the building. Of course the power's shut off right now, and at this point there's no way they would turn it on because of the condition of this structure. It would need to be completely rewired, but being such a small structure, that really wouldn't take that much work. And I kind of enjoy doing wiring anyway, so the possibility of having service is pretty good as well. So with this property, there are some pros and cons. This is just what I was afraid of this area down here. It's just people dumping junk. There's shingles there. There's probably a ton of shingles right in that spot. Toys and who knows what else. It's from the back. But this property back here actually is beautiful. This may be good property to hunt as well. I can see the property marker for the 100 acres right down there on that tree. This is lovely. But more exciting than the house was the actual land the abandoned house is on. Other than a lot of junk that's been dumped there, the property is beautiful and a perfect location for camp. Take a look. Here's the road, and there's the corner marker. So beyond that is the 100 acres. This starts that half acre, and look at this. Perfect entrance. Cut down a few trees. Use your imagination. Don't want to cut anything big, but these are mostly small. Right through here. Could easily pull my camper into this opening. That stump is rotten. I could get rid of that. Cut a few branches. And we could have a turnaround because I could come right between those trees with my truck and back out to the road through there, no problem. That's half an hour's work. Love it. I'm on the half acre right now. The house needs a ton of work like we thought about, but this area right here, it's not even a quarter of an acre. It's going to be perfect for a camp. I've been looking the map, I've been looking over, on the internet, on Google Maps, trying to figure out where I could put a camp that wouldn't interfere with anything, and this is absolutely perfect. If I could just mow that house down and start over, it'd be good. So I can use this area right here without ever having to really do much. A good half day with the chainsaw and maybe a little digging, get some stumps out, this would be perfect. The no trespassing sign you see behind me, I'm going to need a bunch of those. You can see the surveyor's tape, so it's clear where the borders are on all sides of this property. So I am really more excited about this property because of this little spot right here than anything on the whole rest of the half acre. And now it's time for the Southern Hunter tip of the day, stand safety. One study showed that there are 4,000 falls from tree stands every year. In 3/4 of those falls, hunters are either climbing up, climbing down, or mounting their stands. And in over half of those, hunters were wearing any kind of fall arrest system. That's just not good sense. It would be easy to think that you don't need a safety harness just for a quick climb up in your stand. But again, that makes not good sense. You don't want to climb with things in your hand, your bow, your rifle, your water bottle, anything else. Use both hands and then pull your gear bag up when you're securely seated and safe in the top of the stand. You don't want to end your hunting career with a broken neck or even worse, a funeral. In our next episode, we're going to look more carefully and closely at preparing for a safe hunting season. A safe season is a fun season. When I'm asked if I've had any luck on a hunting trip, I always say I had all kinds of luck. I didn't fall out of the stand, I didn't get shot, I didn't get bit by a snake, and I got to enjoy the peace that the wood brings. And that is pretty lucky to me. And that is the Southern Hunter tip of the day. The 240 acres that I hunt next to me is owned by a friend of mine. Every year at the end of the year, I send him a thank you note for allowing me to hunt there, and I tell him a little bit about what I did for the year, how many deer I shot, and so forth. And then about July, I always send him a request, hey, is it okay if I hunt again this year? Even though I know he's going to say yes, and he's told me before I don't have to, I never presume because I think it's a polite thing to do. So I just sent him a text a day or so ago and asked him if it's okay if I could hunt again. He just texted me back. He said, sure, you're on. So I got another year of my own private space right next to me to bow hunt, and that's great news. Yes, exactly. So I can know something in the fall. Great. So all I need to do is petition the commissioners. Perfect. All right. You've been good help. Thank you so much. Bye. Okay, I just got off the phone with the county commissioner's office. That road that goes through my property dead ends at a railroad track. There used to be a bridge there, but that bridge is gone. So I called actually to find out if it would be possible to get a gate put up to keep traffic out of that road. It's a public road, and I don't have any legal right to put a gate there. What I found out from the commissioner's office is right now they're not closing any roads, so I can't do that right now. But what he did tell me was they're looking at reviewing the policies for that process, and starting in the fall, I'll be able to write a letter and petition the county commissioners to have the road abandoned. And what that means is that they would basically not just close the road, but give up the road, so the road would no longer be a county road. And typically, according to this particular guy I talked to, typically what happens when they abandon a road, they divide the property half on one side of the road and half to the other side of the road. So if it's a street, let's say, to the middle of the street goes to one side and the middle to the other. But since I own both sides of the road all the way to the railroad track, except for the railroad company's easement, they basically would give me about 4 acres of land. So not only would I be able to put a gate there, that land would come over to me, which would bring my total acreage with the extra half acre up to about 111 acres. So it's not a guarantee. I have to petition the commissioners, and if the commissioners all agree, that's what would happen. If they don't agree, I've lost nothing. It costs me no money or anything like that. So I can live with it either way, but it's another exciting option. And because of that extra half acre, I now own both sides all the way from my property line to the railroad track. If it hadn't been for that, I would have to get letters from whoever owned that property to also petition so that they could have access. So more good news as we wait through our 20 days of discovery and wait for our closing just a few weeks away. I'm at my hunting lease right now, the lease that I'm currently on and have been for the last several years. What you see behind me is a shelter that I built over my pop-up camper, which is all closed up now because it's summer. But I built that shelter with all reclaimed lumber from a project that I did at my house, so it cost me almost nothing. It's sheltered from the sun and from the wind. It's got a front porch on it. It's a perfect quiet respite if I want to get away from everything, even if I'm not hunting. And what you see right here behind me in the yellow is a little portable garage that I bought at Harbor Freight for $150. Stores my four-wheeler and some odds and ends and keeps my corn up off the ground. I can leave it there in the little garage up on the four-wheeler while I'm gone so the critters can't get to it and it doesn't get rained on. Perfect, quiet little space that's just mine. But I built this shelter so that it can be taken apart. It's built entirely with construction screws. There's not a nail in it. And I did that on purpose so that if I wanted to, I could take it apart for any reason I wanted, even though I didn't know I was going to be doing it for this reason. So I'm going to deconstruct this shelter, I'm going to pack it up, and I'm going to take it to the new property, and it's going to be built on that spot where you saw that little house. So that's what I'm planning to do. The only thing holding this to the ground are some fence posts that you can buy in the hardware store that are pounded into the ground and then screwed into the 4x4s. So sometime this fall, I'm going to be deconstructing this shelter and I'm going to be taking it with me. You know, being at my lease this morning makes me realize how much I've enjoyed that property. It's just been great. The space has been great. My hunting buddies are the best, and it truly has been a place where I can enjoy the peace and quiet of the outdoors. In a way, it's kind of sad. My inexpensive little 1977 Viking pop-up camper has been great. I bought it a real bargain a few years ago. I totally rebuilt it. Wood, the floors, the canvas, everything's been redone. It should last for a long, long time. But it's hard to believe it's 40 years old. But having that camper in that little spot in my shelter, it's just been great. What's really cool about the shelter is I can leave that pop-up camper up pretty much the whole season. I don't have to worry about weather getting to it. So I can put it up in September, take it down. Actually, last year I took it down at the end of turkey season and just kept it closed up during the summer. But I don't have to worry about any water damage, anything like that. Just have to mop off the canvas a little bit before I put it away. When Hurricane Irma came through, it didn't bother the camper, it didn't bother my little garage, it didn't bother my shelter. They all survived with no damage whatsoever. As I told you, I'm planning to move the garage and the camper and shelter to the new property, but in a way I'm really going to miss that space because at night the owls and the coyotes, it's just been great. It's perfect peace and quiet. What I'm going to do is disassemble the shelter, like I said at the beginning of the episode, and take it all apart, get everything ready to go, and then rent a truck, a great big truck, and move everything all at once. I'll move the shelter, my camper, my 5 feeders, my 5 stands, and then any other odds and ends that I have, so we'll just make it one trip. And I have to drive right by the new property on the way home, so I'll just drop it off. So that'll be a tough day. It's sad to see that property go, but in a way it's also a really exciting day. I can still have my hunting buddies come and hunt with me, give them an invitation if they want, but other than that it's my space. So it's kind of like moving from one house that you've gotten to know and love and going to another that is exciting too, but saying goodbye to the old. I've been on the phone 3 times today with the broker. We've gone back and forth. The seller has made a couple of other changes on the contract, so I'm using a program called DocuSign, which means you can do it all over the internet. It's very simple and it's very easy, and once you've put your signatures in, the new document comes in and it shows you where to sign. You just click on it and it automatically puts your signature in there. So we can, in just a few minutes, turn around a contract, and we've done that twice today now. So this is the last one, and if I sign this, we are committed, and all I have left to do is for the seller to sign, and it'll come back to me, and then I can contact my financing agency and get the ball rolling on that end. But I'm about to send it, and when I do that, we're on the way. So there it goes. I may have some property 45 days from now. It is super exciting that we have a contract. I got an email back within 10 minutes of sending my DocuSign contract, and the seller had already signed off. So we're on our way. I put a check with my earnest money in the mail this afternoon. That leaves us in discovery period. I have 20 days from today that I can back out of this contract for any reason that I want, and I'll still get my earnest money back. It's about $3,500. After that, if I back out, I lose my earnest money. Closing is scheduled for 45 days from today, which puts us somewhere around mid-August. In the meantime, I'm going to continue getting ready for hunting in my other spaces. I'll have 4 options this fall. I can hunt on my own property at home. I can hunt that 240 acres where I bow hunt. I can hunt on my lease, and I'll be able to hunt on this new 106-acre tract. I will definitely be hunting this new space sometime this season, and you'll be with me when I drop my first deer there. But in the meantime, I want to start camera and feeder setups in all my other spaces so that I'll be ready for the fall, and I definitely don't want to wait until mid-August to do that because bow season opens the 2nd week of September. So I want plenty of time for the deer to get used to coming around my spaces and have a lot of good scouting under my belt. Also, I'll be bush hogging, taking inventory, and stomping all over that new property, and that's just not so good for hunting. But by turkey season in mid-March, I should have the new track cleaned up, set up, and ready to go. So that will do it for today. Thanks for joining me, and thanks to PSE Archery, not only for making a great bow, but for sponsoring this program as well. I'm Greg Moffett, and I'm a Southern Hunter. Don't forget to look us up on the internet at southernhunter.org and I hope you come back next time. And don't forget about my other dream, hunting with Ted Nugent and playing guitar with Eric Clapton. So if you see either of those guys, make sure you let them know. We'll see you next time.